Hey everyone, this is Kieran from Keys Minis. Today we're taking a look at Black Armour, another method of Black Armour. Using Abaddon Black, I did one or two layers of a base coat. Sorry I didn't film that process, I just missed it, but you can see it on any of the videos. Now moving on to a chunky highlight using a 50-50 mix of Incubi Darkness and Abaddon Black. This is it, like basically what I did with the Dark Angels one. We're going to work on a nice thick chunky highlight all around the armour. I'm going to add in some points of highlights here on like the raised, I don't know what they call those, node areas of the armour. The tricky bit of doing it on an Outrider, usually I'd do this in sub-assemblies, but I wanted to try and challenge myself and paint one of these in, you know, quite a complete state. So obviously you've just got to be careful. If you can't really see points or you can't really get to them, don't worry about it, but just try and all these areas that you can see really well, you want to hit the chunky highlight all across the armour. Obviously I worked around the wheel areas on this bike. If you're just working on a Space Marine itself, that's fine, you don't have to worry about it too much. But one thing I kind of liked about painting these bikes was because there's so many raised surfaces here, it's a real good place to practice edge highlighting compared to just a Space Marine itself. There's so many nice surfaces, flatter surfaces that you can figure out your brush with a little bit more. So it's the same on the face, all around the armour, just working those chunky highlights. So next up, just using Incubi Darkness, we're going to go over that highlight, work around 75% of the area of this highlight. I had a little bit trouble with this because of my brush. It was a bit, there's got some glue had got on the bristles, so I had to spend time clearing it, so it wasn't really showing on this section. But I'm going to work across several areas of the model. I'm working all back across those highlights that we've done. Here I'm using more of a point highlight rather than an edge highlight because it's I'm trying to be accurate to kind of hit the areas where that base mix had been in, that not that base mix, but that base that chunky highlight had been in, because I want to have the gradient kind of effect at the end when you do the final highlights, that you can see where it's going, the point highlights, which looks really nice on the models. If you're going for that almost heavy metal style, I'm not an heavy metal painter. I can try and replicate some areas of the style, but yeah, take your time. This bit is probably the most time consuming along with the next highlight, especially on a bike like this because there's so many points to highlight. But like I said, I really enjoyed painting this Outrider because there's just so many nice points to practice. And a good thing to remember as well with your edge highlighting, I haven't got anything to hold this. What I realised later on, I could put it on actually on a smaller base and I would have been able to use a painting handle, but I didn't think of that at the point of time because I didn't have a base close to me that I could have accessed, so I forgot about the ones in my drawer. But move the model to where you want to highlight. So don't be afraid of switching the position of the model or whatever. Sorry, I'm playing around trying to find out where I was on camera there. Yeah, so you can see here I'm twisting the model to reach the points that I can get to. Rather than trying to alter your brush to get there, alter the position of the model. I just find it so much easier if you can do that depending on the size of the model and what you're painting. If you break your models down to small sub-assemblies, it's really easy to do. There's so many great areas on these Outriders that allow you to practice edge highlighting in general. Obviously Marines in general can be quite good, but especially with this one, with the arm kind of out and just on the handlebars, yeah, there's really cool highlighting areas. So take your time. This and the next stage are probably the longest. Just working around the areas, like I said, working at around 75% of the previous highlight, just to create that gradient effect. And here's kind of what it looks like. You can't really see much on it on the black at the minute, but obviously up close looking at the army, you can see a lot more. So now using Thunderhawk Blue, we're going to hit this now probably around 25% of the highlighting area, maybe even 50, depends how thick you want this highlight to look. But this is going to be the main highlight across all the areas. I'm going to go back across the areas, edge highlighting, inside the pauldron, on the outside, inside of the pauldron, on the really thin lines, using a point highlight as well. Working edge highlight, remember, wipe any excess off with a, like, that's one of the biggest mistakes I still make as a painter when I'm edge highlighting, is when I'm going on to these final highlights. Sometimes I try and rush in even from my wet palette, and I'll try and rush and not wipe the excess off. If you remember to wipe the excess off your brush, you avoid stuff like that, having to wipe thicker lines off. You can get the accuracy you want a lot more easier. It's a practice thing with edge highlighting. It's just a practice thing, and if you love that kind of painting style, then take your time with it and find a model that you're going to get lots of practice. These Outriders are great examples. I imagine the new Contemptor Dreadnoughts is from Horus Heresy would be great examples for practicing edge highlighting as well. But just take your time working around the armor. I've used this kind of recipe on my previously. I used the one more now that I used in the Sisters of the Battle video in the last one. But I used to use this recipe on all my dark armor. I did it on my Castilian for a Black Templars, just that one I painted. And on my Anvils of Eldar, I used quite a lot of this recipe to achieve it. So next up, we're going to go to Fenrisian Grey, and this is going to be more of a detailed highlight. I am not going to go all the way around the edges. I'm looking more at the corners, point highlights on top of the helmets. You know, I'm literally again using the side of my brush, wiping the excess off. Either I'm twisting the model to hit the ranges I want. Like here, I created some little points from on the leg just to add a little bit more depth into the model. And yeah, I'm just taking my time, and I'm probably covering around 25% of the area now. I'm not even going all the way across the highlight. If I was going to extreme edge highlight, kind of like I did with the Dark Angels one I did a couple of episodes back, I really went to the extreme. But this is kind of like with the Moot Green, I went all the way around every edge, which I probably wouldn't. Like this, normally when I'm painting, I just cover the corners, any points where the light's really focused, so on the pauldron up here, maybe around this console thing on his arm a little bit, I would spend a little bit more time highlighting, because it's up in the light, and that's the areas I want to really show off if people are looking at the model. So yeah, as you see, wiping the excess off and just taking my time, hitting these corners all around. You can see it on the helmet there, I've got like a little point highlight there as well. And yeah, just have a lot of fun. These Outriders, like I said, are amazing models to practice on. I've got another 2, no, I've actually got another 5 I need to paint, and I'm going to probably stick to this style with them, of the Ravenwing. I want to change the style up. I did the classic Dark Angels kind of green on the, I don't know what they call it on that Outrider bit, but and if you want to know how to edge highlight the green, obviously head up back to my Dark Angels one if you want to do a similar scheme as well. And now I'm going back with Incubi Darkness again, and this time I've washed it down, used a bit of, I might have even used some contrast medium, really thinned it down to a wash consistency, and all I'm doing is I'm literally glazing this all around the black areas of work. Sorry about my hand getting in the way. I had not realised I'd actually zoomed in quite a lot more than I had on the previous stages. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just working all around the area, and what I'm trying to do is just tie this area in. You could use a contrast colour if you want to as well. I think there's a turquoise colour that you could, I forgot what it's called, that you could use that gets a similar effect. But I'm literally just trying to tie all the tie all the highlights in a little bit to the armour and give it a bit of a bluey look. Now, if you don't want the bluey look, use a Abaddon Black as a tie-in as well. Obviously, like the base coat, it just gives you a different kind of texture or finish, whichever way you want to go. And a final highlight using white. I'm using Vallejo White, and I'm literally just hitting the point corners now, just trying to get the final highlights in on this. I'm not going to go too quickly. I'm going to just take my time, little corners, just to add in some kind of light reflections into the model, and that is it. Use every corner you can, but also think about the placement as well. Sometimes you don't have to, if you like, obviously around that chest pauldron, that chest area, if you can't see it as well and you can't access it, don't bother with it. But on kind of the top of the helmet here, on the side of the arms, on the greaves, if you feel like you want to add an extra highlight in, this is fine. Add that little stage in. And that's it. That's a recipe for my Black Templars, Black Ravenwing. I've done it for, obviously, but you could use this on Black Templars, anything with Black Armour. I do a similar thing on my Chaos Marines as well, but I'll try and show how to paint one of them in another video, either in what is it? The I forgot the name of the Legion, Black Legion. So you can obviously film it in the Black Legion style as well. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to stay up to date with future ones. And thank you for watching my little tutorial on Ravenwing and Black Armour.